All righty, we are live for yet another bold podcast. Hey, we got Todd Tramonte down there in Texas. What's up, Todd?
Doing well, man. How are you doing?
Living the dream, man. Living the dream. Good to have you again. So before we dive into this too much, we should probably tell everybody, you and I do another podcast with Samard. We have Jason as one of our other guests, so we might as well just get it out there. Todd, Jason, and I do a thing called the Triple Threat Podcast. And so you get to hear us debate issues, pretty much everything from technology to like where the real estate industry is headed. And so you get Todd, who's like the great Texan. You've got me kind of in the middle ground, and then you've got the great Canadian in the north. So I get a lot of stuff thrown at me from both directions. But
it's maybe the only time you've been in the middle ground.
Yeah, it pretty much is. Usually I'm on one side or the other. But today, we want to talk to you, Todd, about basically your business, how you've been doing what you've been doing. You're one of the people that I consider in this industry as someone who is a leader and someone who is taking our industry to a different area. You're moving us into the future, unlike a lot of people that are keeping us held back in the past. So let's talk about you. How long have you been in real estate, man?
Yeah, so officially I've been licensed for 15 plus years. I started out flipping houses for a couple of years before I had a license. So 15, 16, 17 years.
Okay. And then so before real estate, you were flipping homes. What else were you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I actually got licensed before I graduated from grad school. So I was in college when I started flipping houses. I was looking at getting married and going into youth ministry.
Sure.
So real estate was an option to make some money and use some of my gifts while spending a lot of time with high school kids. And then it grew into something else. But that's, 16, 17 years ago.
So unlike people like me, I mean, I had career prior to this, found real estate later in life. You've been basically doing this. This is what you wanted to do.
Yeah. I mean, and to be really honest, I'm probably, for the most part, unemployable. And B, what I really wanted to do was youth ministry. And so real estate was just a throw in. You and I, we talk about this in other environments a lot, but houses, and I actually really do like real estate, but that just happened to be the vehicle for me to use what I believe are my God-given gifts and that I get excited about and fired up about. To building a business is the thing that I'm super passionate about, and developing people and serving clients. And houses and residential real estate happened to be a fit, schedule-wise, energy-wise, passion, and all that. But it wasn't that I had some grand vision of being a real estate agent. To this day, I think the term realtor is a pretty low label.
You and I both.
But yeah, so the goal was always to lead something, start and build something. Youth ministry was the driver that allowed real estate to fit it. And I still do a lot of that. I just ended up feeling like I wasn't supposed to go do that for an income full-time vocationally. So not much has changed. We do love real estate, but the industry was never the most important part.
Got it. So now you said 15 years-ish. How many transactions have you done, basically?
It's funny. I've had the thought for probably 12 of those 15 years that I ought to actually do an exact tally.
Yeah.
It's well into the thousands, but I actually don't have an exact count. We appreciate tracking in good numbers, but it's not total lifetime. I have an independent brokerage, so we don't care about trophies and how we compare against everybody else necessarily. But I would say over the 15 years with a real estate license, it's probably, close to probably a little more than, 2,000 to 3,000.
Right. So the thing that I love about the way you do business is you're not really transactional based. Mm-hmm. You're much more relationship based, which takes something that I did not have when I first got in the industry. It was very much how many transactions can I nail out? And we do hyper focusing on how many transactions. You have a very, very different approach to business. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about like the structure of your business. I know you have a team and a brokerage, but I guess everybody on your team everyone in your brokerage is on your team as well, right?
Yep, correct. That's true as of this very moment. We're probably going to start growing a little bit more on the brokerage side, but for years and years and years, I've never had an agent that I sponsored at the brokerage who wasn't on the team. with few very rare exceptions where maybe I continued to sponsor someone when they left the team and moved for 6 months or something. But that's just not been the business model. So structure of the business, and some of this is borrowed from, coaches that I've worked with. Some of it is customized to us, but basically we divide the business into 3 parts. Before we have a client, the transactional, during, while we have a client, and then we want to keep them as a client forever, but after the transaction. So before, during, and after. And so my role, if I had to put it in one phrase, my job is to make sure everyone here achieves their personal goals, right? So as long as their goals exceed my minimal expectations, what I need for them to do to make sense, and they always do, then my job just becomes to resource, train, equip them, lead them to achieve their goal. That's it. That's the whole job description. Now, primarily from a technical standpoint, that means I mostly do marketing and making sure there's enough opportunity, and then leading and training, right? Developing leaders. Then we have a full-time staff person over that before piece of the business. And that's really a conversion role. Business development, agent conversion, training, coaching, accountability type stuff. That person also doubles as our Dallas team leader. We have 2 offices, one in Dallas, one in Fort Worth.
Sure.
Then we have a during unit person who we call our client care director. And that person supports all of our agents on all their transactions. What's what I would call a listing coordinator or a transaction coordinator.
Sure.
But it's more relationally driven, like you said. So they're supporting the agents relationally, and then they are touching with the clients relationally, but they're not negotiating a bunch of technical transactional stuff.
Got it.
Then we have our after the transaction unit, which we call our raving fan club. So we have a raving fan club coordinator, Elizabeth, and she handles, with me, client events, past client care, celebrations, a lot of communication, database management, things like that. The only other full-time employee role we have is we have a content manager, marketing assistant, content manager for video, social media, and all the training and equipping tools, resources, our online library, our online university, and then some of the stuff we do for our consulting business where we help agents outside of our core business.
Sure.
And then from an agent perspective, we have 3 agents in Fort Worth. That client care director leads that office. That's our Fort Worth team lead. Also that same client care director. And then we have a marketing specialist, which most people call a listing specialist, and a buyer specialist. And then here in our Dallas office, which is actually in Richardson, we have 2 marketing specialists and 3 buyer specialists. So that's the whole team makeup. We try to keep it as lean as we can. My wife does come in once or twice a week. She's a CPA. She does all the books and payroll and all that. But we try to keep it pretty lean.
See, you and I operate very similarly. We keep it as lean as possible. Don't have a bunch of extra people doing extra things that aren't needed. It's much cleaner that way. I know we're going to get to your Raving fan club, because I absolutely love that. I've implemented it because of you. But I would say my favorite thing you do is how you relate your business to that of like an attorney, a doctor, other high-end professionals. How do you convey that to your clients?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought it. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. It's one of my favorite things to reinstill in our team. One of our core values, it's on the wall, it's printed, it's everywhere, is that vision leaks. And what I mean by that is when you cast a vision for your business, and for you, it's very real. You're on fire, you're pumped about it. But even for yourself, you kind of have to recast your vision and reinvest maybe twice a year, 3 times a year, depending on your engine. But for your team members, you need to be doing that weekly, monthly, quarterly, if not daily sometimes, so that you're continuing to put before them the grand vision of their opportunity, the team opportunity, the company opportunity. And this is probably 1A, the second way that we do that. And I'll just tell you real quick. The first way is we say, we are building the residential real estate version of a world-class surgeon's business. Right. And the quick snapshot on that is, if you found out today that your daughter had a rare kidney disease, you don't open the yellow pages looking for like a doctor who might be able to do kidney work. You don't look for the closest doctor to the house. You don't necessarily look for cheap kidney doctor on Google, right?
Right.
You look for the best in the world.
Absolutely.
You fly there, drive there, boat there, walk there, carry her, whatever you have to do. And you go where they say to go, when they say to go. You don't ask price. You don't tell them, well, I did some research online and I think what you ought to do to treat her is this. You don't do that. That stuff is stupid. And it feels stupid because you understand the gravity and the importance of a rare kidney thing. Now, obviously, buying and selling homes is not life or death rare kidney disorders, but for most people's balance sheet, for most people's financial future and more, their family future, their marriage, their parenting, their health, this is a big boulder in their life, right? This is a major time commitment, a major financial commitment. To be honest with you, I hope that you have great clients and this isn't their biggest financial purchase of their life. Everyone likes to say that, but it's definitely going to be one of them. Right. So all that considered, I want people to view us and trust us like they would that world-class. Come to us where we say, when we say, don't ask about fee, follow our leadership, all that stuff. And the primary way we communicate it, to get back to your question, is we say, we want you to be able to trust your real estate professional. Now, I hope we're able to earn your trust and be that real estate professional, but whoever it is, we believe you ought to be able to trust their guidance the same way you would your family physician, your attorney, your CPA, and those key professional people whose expertise you really depend on for the major decisions in your life. And when you can trust us at that level, then you don't need to watch HGTV and Google how this is done and worry about it. You live your life and you trust our leadership and our guidance in regard to your home, your vacation home, your real estate investments, and you get to live your life while we protect you, advocate for you, lead and guide you through this process. And if you can't trust us on that level, then we're likely not to be a fit for each other, and that is okay. Yep. We both have a decision to make here. You'll need to be able to trust us on that level, and we'll need to know that you're the kind of client that we can lead and guide to the best of our ability.
And what I love about that is, so Todd does some coaching on this. You do coaching as well. You have a group basically that you coach as well. Mm-hmm. I'm actually part of Todd's group. Yeah. And one of the things that when I first got in there and started listening to what you were saying, you basically said what you charge, and I about fell over dead because I do the same thing you do, where I do so much for my clients. We do so much for our clients, and we spend tons and tons and tons of money, and we show value. And then you basically said, so what? Tell me what you charge, just so we can throw that on the table.
You want to know what we charge?
Yeah.
I thought you were telling your story.
No,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Typically on the listing side, when we work with a seller, we're at about 7.5%.
7.5%. So I started doing what you did, what you started. Basically, you've taught over the years, basically taught how to do that. But we started doing the same thing you did. And it is amazing when you define yourself as a real estate professional and you show that in the value. People stop caring about what it costs, and they just trust you to do your job. It's amazing. So,
and my favorite thing, just to brag on Brett, which I hate to do on his show, that kind of credit, but Brett implemented this in a matter of like a week or two. Yeah. Where most people, it's not about me, but we have these 8 training modules, and so some people will take 8 weeks. Some people, of course, never finish them. But Brett takes this, and I don't know, probably stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning a couple of nights, pounded them out. Probably went through it more than once, probably had his staff do it. And then within a matter of, 7, 10, 15 days, was on our group calls talking about results, right? Yep. And then within a matter of 90 days or 6 months, we were then looking back and saying, what change has this made in your business? And when you're already, this is the beautiful thing, when you're already doing way more than is expected in your marketplace, when you're already delivering way beyond what anybody could even imagine, much less expect, especially in comparison to what they've experienced in the past, then this is a matter of mindset and confidence. Now, even if you're not there yet and you're not delivering it yet, if you want to, if you're open to it, that can be implemented in a matter of weeks and months. And then the mindset piece can be layered on. So within 90 days or 120 days, just about anybody could be here. But Brett already had a powerful machine, and they just said, whoa, let's put on a new set of lenses here. And it's a big difference.
It's a big difference. And I think that the best part about that, some of the things that he talks about in his coaching is urgency and scarcity. And it really becomes down to, that can be said about your real estate business as well, urgency and scarcity. And so we limited the number of transactions that we do as far as listing sides. We put a number on that, and we will not go over that. As soon as we did that, we became oversubscribed literally within 2 weeks. And that's been cool.
Brett and I share the same just freakish appreciation for things that work and make sense. And so we'll swap an idea, and we do, like we said, we do the other podcast with Jason, probably 70% so that we can sharpen each other and share ideas. And then we're all thrilled to share it with everybody. But, it's fun to create something new. There's not a lot of new information in real estate, but I would argue a little bit with the people that say there's nothing new, right? It's new, even if you've taken 3 things that already existed, and now those 3 things together for the first time are kind of a new thing. But it's fun to see people implement. It's fun to be able to believe in yourself and your business enough to put a limit on it and say, look, we don't really need to do more than X number of transactions a year to earn a great living, to pay people well, to provide an opportunity that allows people to live a phenomenal life. Because you can make a phenomenal living and be miserable.
Sure. Absolutely.
You can also be broke and be miserable. I'd rather have the phenomenal living, but it is possible, even though, I'm looking for a copy of it. Brett contributed to this too with a bunch of other people, but the new book that I've got coming out called 5 Lies That Will Ruin Your Real Estate Career. And it's not even for sale yet. I'm not pitching it, but my point is to say most of us enter the business based on a bunch of bogus lies.
Absolutely.
But it can be done. They don't have to be lies. If you were willing, like Brett has been willing, and like we've built our business around saying, look, we prioritize our business on repeat and referral clients. So we're always going to put them first. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Actually, I'm not sorry, but I'm bummed out if you're sad about that. But on any given month, we may have room beyond our repeat and referral business to take, some months it's 2 new clients, some months maybe it's 8. But depending on our availability, we'd love to have you fill out a short application. And if things make sense, we would love to work with you. If not, then maybe we could fit you in next month. And if that's not convenient, we'd be happy to introduce you to someone that could still do a very good job for you. It's not the same as us, but we think they could do a good job for you. That is a really powerful statement. And what I love about Brett is that he hears that and he's like, oh, I'll freaking do that. That sounds awesome. Right? Where other people hear that and are like, oh my gosh, what if they hear you say that and they say, fine, I'll go find someone else.
But they don't.
First of all, they don't if you do it well. Secondly, if they do, then that's okay. There will be more. Or they weren't the right client for you anyway. If you want to build this type of business, and not everybody does. But anyway, I'll shut up. That's a really long answer.
No, but you also brought up a really valid point in that too. You get a ton of referrals, and I know you have a ton of multiple lead sources coming in, but how are you getting so many referrals from your past clients and your sphere of influence? Like, what are you doing that is just, you love on your database more than anybody I've ever met? How are you doing that?
Yeah. So, technically speaking, the way we do it is with what we call our raving fan club. That's not a new, brilliant idea. People have heard of the idea of a raving fan club. You can go buy books about it. But ultimately what we've tried to do is never end the relationship, right? So you're building trust, you're initiating a relationship. It's very transactional. You're trying to establish a friendship, a more than professional, just open the door and fill out the contract, man, kind of relationship, right? But as soon as, like, the word closing is already kind of negative in our office because it sort of means things are ending, right? We try to celebrate that, and we get funding. And some of that terminology I've learned from other coaches like Joe Stump with buy referral only and things like that. But what we've done is we've said, you are now invited to be a part of our raving fan club. I've never used a tagline anywhere ever except in our raving fan club. And our tagline is value beyond the sale. And the message we're trying to get across is our goal is to add value to your life forever.
Yeah.
You may stay in this house forever and never move again. We want to be the first person you call if there's a hailstorm and you're worried about your roof. We want to be the first person you call if you're thinking about adding on, but you're not sure, should I add on or just sell it and move? So we want to add value to you forever. Now, that's kind of the housing we put it in. The way we deliver that is through a weekly email that's just a relationship builder that I personally write every week, a printed newsletter that goes out every other month, a glossy, high-quality magazine that goes out to our top-tier advocates and referral partners every other month. We do 4 client events a year, Raving Fan Club events. In the spring, we do a minor league baseball game. We buy the ticket and we buy their food, and it's really, really great. Back to school, we do a ice cream party, invite everybody, buy everybody ice cream. We're adding one this year. We're doing a fall festival. I've got a couple acres at my house with pony rides and Nerf gun war area and food trucks and all sorts of other crazy stuff. And then we do a pie day in November. And then our Raving Fan Club gets 2, they don't know it, but they get 2 randomly timed surprise gifts by mail per year. And then our inner circle, which is the top about 5 or 10% of that group, gets even more than that, really specialized gifts and signs of appreciation all throughout the year. And that doesn't include any of the one-off, like, hey, let me take you to lunch, let me take you to dinner, let's go to a ball game kind of stuff.
Right.
But if you'll invest in those relationships, you won't even have to ask a lot, but you need to ask some. But they will want, we use the word compelling a lot. You've got to give someone a compelling reason to talk to you, compelling reason to meet with you, compelling reason to work with you. We want to give them a compelling reason to introduce their friends to us.
So when did we do the Real Geeks thing? Was that about a year ago? The one that I came to? That would have been about a year ago.
Ish, something like that, yeah.
So we all went down. There was a bunch of us that went down for a Real Geeks, basically sit around and talk and get on video and do this kind of thing. And Todd had his office north of where we were doing that location. And so we all went to Todd's office. And I will never forget, you introduced me to this whole Raving Fans Club thing. And I kid you not, on the flight home, we were implementing the Raving Fans Club for ourselves. Now, since that time, we build pillars just like Jason does with our business. We have 4 pillars. Jason has 3. But our 4 pillars, one of our pillars that we added was referral and past client. And since we implemented the Raving Fan Club, our referrals have been through the roof, like almost to the point where we're starting to go, should we just go referral only at this point?
Hey, Brett, what's the profitability look like on the?
It's phenomenal. I mean, you look at cost per client, and the cost per client is so low. It's so low. But what we're loving about it is when you're saying, we want to be the people they call when they're doing a remodel, or when they're thinking about adding granite, or when they're thinking about anything. We want to be those people. And so since you brought that up and kind of gave me that final nudge that I needed, it's been through the roof. So
yeah, and I'll just add, if you're someone that follows Brett and that loves what he does, there's a really good chance that you like the visual marketing aspect of what Brett does, which he's one of the best in the world at doing that, especially in our space, right? I love that stuff, and I'm learning from Brett all the time. But what you need to know is that there is no business that stands on one leg, right? And so, Brett's telling all of us right now, I went, I saw, I added, and we're benefiting, right? And so that's the beautiful thing. You don't have to go referral only. I don't recommend you do that, by the way. You certainly shouldn't go, hardcore paid marketing only either. I don't recommend that. And there's a lot of reasons for that I won't take up a ton of time unless you want me to. But the fact of the matter is, you've got to have some balance to your business.
Sure.
Market shift, personality shift, people's lives change, staffs turnover, and you need to provide some stability for you and your people. And this is one of the ways you can do that. You have, by design, some unbelievably profitable relationship-driven transactions each year, and then you have some ideally still very profitable marketing-driven transactions. Probably a couple of sources of those. And then a lot of us have sort of that unknown category that ends up adding up to a good chunk of your business. And it's not really unknown. It's just 3 deals here and 5 deals there and 2 deals over here. And, 1 year it's like we got 11 transactions from that, but we're not really sure why. Well, you can't predict that that's going to repeat itself.
Right.
So you need to have those 2 or 3 or 4 main legs. And that's where, why not? You see something that works, you're like, we could implement this in the next 30 days. Do it, make that happen.
Absolutely. So now one of the things that I noticed while I was down there too, tell everybody how you track everything that you've got going on. What's the program you use for that?
Yeah. So the primary thing we use is CTE, Commitment to Excellence. It's a KW guy built it forever ago, kind of initially for other KW, built it for himself, added KWH. Now he'll sell it to anybody. It's unbelievably affordable. It's a phenomenal product. Yeah. His name's Calvin. I don't really know him personally. I get no benefit from saying that, but for like $30 or $40 a month, it's absolutely incredible. It's like everything else. It works if you use it. If you don't use it, it won't work. It's basically a giant Excel spread. It is literally a giant Excel spreadsheet, but it presents things in multiple different visual ways. You got kind of a speedometer, tachometer, you got line graphs, char graphs, pie graphs, all this stuff. And so we do competitions within the office, who's going to set the most buyer appointments in the next 30 days. And of course, we make stupid wagers where the loser's got to go get a henna tattoo, or the winner gets to do something stupid. Like, we have a fantasy football wager right now, and the consequences are real. There's a tattoo for the loser every single week. But anyway,
seriously,
henna tattoo, by the way.
Yeah.
Last year, the loser of one of our competitions had to drink any 3 McDonald's menu items blended. And they had to drink ounces of it. So obviously, filet of fish was the first item in the blender. But that's the stuff. People are gonna be in your office or on your team because they're into that kind of stuff, or not, right?
Yeah.
But you got to track, but you might as well make it fun. Hey, we're going to track, and we're going to compete, and we're going to measure. We're going to do some planning, and we're going to set some aggressive goals, and we're going to go get it. We're not just going to ask you to enter data and do a spreadsheet and then hope something good happens.
Right.
But CTE is the answer, and we love it.
Good to know. Yeah, we use the same thing. You turned us on to that, and I'm an analytics guy. So anytime that I have it sitting in front of me here. Anytime that I have it in front of me, we have horse race mode going on right now.
Yeah, that's
and you know what? It builds morale, especially when you start having those kind of competitions. I do like the blended McDonald's consequences. Sure. That is phenomenal. I'm going to implement immediately.
What's funny is what we learned was, hopefully, your team is productive and they're making good money.
Yeah.
And so, the cash bets are still good, but we found that they weren't nearly as exciting and motivating as consequences.
I think the consequences are the way to go. Yeah. You do not want to be the last one.
We have video of our agents doing push-ups on the and
that's funny.
We have anyway, all sorts of funny stuff. We've got golf games in the office and dartboards, and that it's part of the gamesmanship of it all, because if you're not going to treat some of this stuff like a game, it's going to beat you down.
Absolutely.
So you got to keep the hustle alive. But yeah, man. So,
what else? What is your one piece of advice for someone that's either just starting out or looking to make a major change in their business for becoming more referral based? Like, if you had to give someone's advice on where to start, where would you start?
I'll answer that, and then I may give you a little bit more than that. But the short answer to that is I would start with the people that you already know, that know you, like you, and trust you. And if you're a Facebook advertiser, you want to create a lookalike audience, right?
Yep.
But not actually on Facebook, right? You want to find those people that know you, like you, and trust you. And then you want to say to yourself, what's the commonality here? All these people are also into fitness. Brett's a runner, swimmer, biker, right? So it turns out 11 of my top 12 referral sources are also kind of these. So I'm going to grow that, which means that's a perfect excuse for me to enter deeper into that world and build more it should be fun, by the way. This part of your business should feel like, I can't believe this has technically worked, right? That's a good place to start. You're probably going to want to grow beyond just your personal hobbies and affinity groups. But if you haven't done anything, that's where I would start. Where do you have a decent chunk of relationships, 10, 12, 15 or more, people who know you, like you, trust you, have done business with you, are doing business with you, or you're pretty confident they would do business with you, and begin to invest deeply in those relationships. Secondly, I'll just say this. if you're in the world of marketing, you're familiar with the term ascension. If you're not, it's really simple. You know, you sell somebody a $5 product and now they're a client and they're likely to buy a $50 product. And if you really keep adding more value than they're paying for, eventually they'll probably buy a $5,000 product. You ascend them up your ladder of commerce, basically, right?
Yep.
Now, if someone doesn't have any idea who you are, you're not going to try to sell them. I mean, you can, but it's not highly likely you're going to sell them a $5,000 product, or you're going to sell them their home, right?
Right.
So can you add something of value, bring them into relationship with you, even if it's a very low level relationship? And then your investment over time is to take them from being an acquaintance to a potential referral source, potential client, to a client and a referral source, to a repeat client and a high level referral source, right? You want to ascend them up. And as you do that relationally, you do it by spending one of probably three things: time, energy, or money. And I trust me, money's the least important one. Now you can do some really cool things with a little bit of money, but that's why we do the events. That's why we do fantasy football leagues, and we do the weekly email, and we do some social media contests, and our events are different types of events and things like that. So without spending hours on it, that's what I would say, sort of in a nutshell, is how I would begin to approach it. If you have 500 people in your database, but you've never worked on it, spend one long night dividing them and segmenting them into kind of everybody, and then potentials, and then really strong referral sources.
Right.
And then your goal is to move people up that ladder, to ascend them up. And then if you've ever read the book Top Grading, or you know what that topic is, sometimes you'll move people out of your database and you're constantly improving the quality of your database.
That's about as good of an answer as you could have possibly given.
Well, I'm glad it's helpful.
Well, I mean, I think that pretty much wraps up the questions I had for you. As I mentioned in the beginning of this, Todd, Jason, and I have we have our own podcast, the Triple Threat Podcast. So you can basically hear us break down our business on the Triple Threat Podcast, and there will be a link in this at the bottom of this video. So, Todd, thanks for your time today, man. Appreciate it.
Man. It's fun as always. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Take care. Take care. Bye.